So hi Phil, how are you?
Hi Josh, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Good, yeah, not too bad, thanks.
Nice one.
So I've got a few questions for you.
Okay.
So what exactly do you do?
Right, well I'm a college lecturer at Neathport Talbot College and I specialise in music technology.
That's cool. So what modules do you teach here?
Oh, right, that's a good question because I'm actually quite broad my teaching here. So I teach on music practice courses doing technology units, so like sequencing and digital recording. I also teach on the media course, so I do units such as sound for the moving image, making sample libraries, that kind of thing. I also teach on performing arts degrees, doing things like multimedia performances. I teach on the foundation degree, some more academic subjects like music and popular culture and listening skills, so be able to pick out and analyse technology used in recording process in classic tracks, for example. So that's the units I'm currently doing.
That's cool. What are the pros and cons of being a college lecturer?
Well, there's a lot of pros. First of all, I get to work with the technology we have here every day, so I get hands-on doing things I love doing. So working with mixing desks, music software, instruments, even using computers and the internet and things like that. I'm not in an office pushing pens, I'm actually getting my hands on. So I love doing that. The second thing is working with young people. Generally, working with young people is nothing short of inspirational. I know it sounds cheesy, but it is. I learn so much from young people. They keep me pretty up to speed with what's happening currently in popular culture, which I think if I wasn't working with young people, I would have lost that a long time ago. The achieving things, seeing a young person arrive week 1 and 2 years later, knowing so much more and knowing that I had something to do with that is actually quite, it's a good feeling. You get some satisfaction out of doing that sort of thing. This place is also, I've been here long enough, it's like having a little family, so I don't have that Monday morning blues. I mean, I have the blues every time I wake up in the morning. I don't like getting up at 7, but other than that, I don't dread Mondays. Whereas a lot of people do with their work. Being here is the same as being at home. It's just, it's just life and it's good. What else? Another pro, good long summer holiday. Con, it's peak time in the summer holiday, so it's expensive to go anywhere. But you get paid reasonably well, but you end up doing a lot more work for that money than I think people realise. So I'm part-time, I end up doing at least 3 times the hours I'm contracted for. Certain times of the year I'll be working 60 hours, 70 hours a week just marking and things like that. Of course, other times of the year you've got a long summer holiday, you're off completely. So yeah, I'd say that's the pros and cons of being a college lecturer.
That's good. How did you start?
Right, I fell into it by accident because I was a freelance musician and DJ after I finished my degree in Newcastle. And I was finding being a freelancer that could be lucrative at times, but also a bit unpredictable. And there'd be times a year when I found myself with not enough money to pay my bills. I wasn't getting sustainable income. So I sought other ways to earn money, and one of the ways was to get into teaching. I was invited to teach on my degree course the year after I finished it. I had no qualifications whatsoever other than the degree. So ironically, my first teaching post was university lecturer. I really enjoyed that, and from there I got some teaching, like doing projects in schools, so you'd be a guest for a couple of weeks. I also got involved in working for a company who specialised in teaching adults with learning difficulties, so I'll be using DJing and things like that to help improve essential skills, which I won't go into detail now, but it was quite innovative. And they put me through my first teaching qualification, so it wasn't until that point that I actually got any kind of qualification that said I was a teacher. I ended up also working with disadvantaged young people in the North Tyneside region through a company called Co-Musica. And it was at that point my wife wanted to move here and I needed a stable job because life was getting a bit more responsible, and it just so happened to be by some divine intervention the perfect job for me waiting for me here when I moved. It was almost too good to be true.
You said you was in a band?
I was. Yeah, I've been in a few bands. Some of them are too terrible to talk about. but one or two were really good. There's one in particular. I was in a band called Sugarwood, which was a 5-piece from Durham. And I know you probably heard it a million times, but it's one of those bands that we worked very hard, and we were actually really good. Don't want to blow my own trumpet, but we were, and we really should have made it. One of those things. So I was in the band for 5 years. There was a bass player before me, but we did all fold at the end of those 5 years. In that time, we recorded 3 albums and an EP. We got as far as, we toured a lot in the Northeast, did stuff in South Africa, and a few places like that. But we're essentially a local band. And I went to London a few times, Cambridge, over to Manchester and Liverpool, Scotland, and gigging all the time. And we ended up getting Wet Wet Wet's manager, a guy called Dougie Souness, was on the cards for managing us. We had a company called Clintons, who were solicitors, ready to basically be our lawyers in all the major legal wrangles about to happen. We had a producer on our case called Kim Fowley, who really wanted to work with us. He was quite a prolific producer, and we were coming down to London. We were packing out venues, bringing coachloads of people down, and we're getting A&R from umpteen different record labels, press, the whole lot down there. This was going to be the next big thing. And it was at the point that MP3 was just coming into vogue. I think there was a site called mp3.com. I don't think even iTunes existed back then. And no one really knew what was going to happen in the music industry. That everyone was worried that all this CDs and records are just going to disappear. And people losing their jobs left, right and centre. There's all this panic. And people were saying, we'd sign you right now if we knew we were going to have a job tomorrow. But we don't. So, sorry. And I think the pressure just got too much. And at that point, it all folded. Which is a shame. But we had a good innings. Good fun.
That's good. Who or what influenced you?
Well, I come from a musical family. So my family, they were opera singers. I was learned to play piano and violin. Did my grade 8 violin. Did all right at that. Not so well at the piano, but there we go. So I played keyboards in bands for a while. A bass is an upside down violin, a few octaves down. So I came to bass playing from my knowledge of violin and keyboards, not from a guitar aspect. I can play about 3 chords on the guitar. And people influenced me. Well, I was really influenced by the 80s, because that's when I was sort of a child and a teenager. So I was really into Level 42, Mark King, Stanley Clarke, UB40, Duran Duran. I can't remember the name of the bass player, but he was phenomenal. Even a band called Kajagoogoo were terrible records, but fantastic bass playing. All this kind of funky 80s stuff. And it's ironic that Sugarwood was a rock band, so it was it wasn't really funky, but had my moments to shine, put it that way.
That's awesome. Going back to the studio, what would you say are the main challenges?
Okay, there's public studio. Your main challenge is just being able to deliver. So somebody's paying you good money, you need the skills, you need to be able to deliver the job well. So you need to know your stuff. And one of the challenges there is keeping up with technology, because it's forever changing. Even when you don't want it to change, Microsoft will go and change Windows, or there'll be a new update for your Mac, your operating system, and then nothing will work. You've got to get a new piece of software, or a new patch, or a new driver. And even though the principles are exactly the same, back from the days of tape through to now, all the principles are the same. You lay down your tracks, you process them, you master them, there we go, mix and master. But it's like knowing how to operate the technology, and you've got to constantly keep on top of that, and it's happening so rapidly. That's a constant battle. So that's probably the main challenge facing working in a studio at the moment, I think. Actually, for both college and professional, as in, commercial studio.
What would you say are the key skills you need in the recording studio?
Right, that's where it differs between commercial and college. Because commercial, as I said, you need to know your stuff, and you just need to deliver. So it doesn't matter whether your band know how to do it or not. You're not there to impart wisdom, you're there to get them value for money. You need to be able to do it quickly, and you need to kind of manage people and make sure, because bands are notorious for like turning up late, lazing around, wanting another coffee or a cigarette or something, and it's like, come on. Mind you, if they don't and they're paying you, well, why not? Just get more money. But it's kind of a bit of people management, but definitely knowing how to do the job. If you don't know how to do the job, you can't run a studio and record a band. So that's the main thing there. But being a lecturer is a different kettle of fish. You need to know all that, but you also need to know how to break it all down and explain what you're doing in layman's terms, because it's all too easy when you're good at something or an expert in something to just do it. And sometimes realise that if you explain this and that and this, but you've missed out, you've just kind of done it and not shown how to do it, and the student's got no clue what you've done. You need to be able to break every single down, explain what, why, answer questions, rationalise. You need to be able to communicate. So there's a lot to take on board.
That's right. What could we do in Swansea to win money from the music industry, mainly as students, for example?
Right. Okay, so we're way out west in Swansea. In the modern world, we're an advantage because we're connected by our phones, our internets, our laptops, our tablets. You don't actually any longer need to be in the centre of activity to be able to be involved. You can network just by switching on your computer. So I think the myth that you've got to move to like New York or London or something in order to be successful as a musician or a producer is turning into a myth now. Because of the current status of digital technology, there's a lot more to be made from DIY. Being a DIY musician, being a freelancer, self-employed, making your own opportunities. As far as I'm concerned, if you're in a band, you write some tunes, you go out and you get a booking at a pub, you play at the pub, they give you money, you've made it. You're a professional. Someone has exchanged money for your services, and it's only as far as your ambitions go as to how far you take that.
That's right. There you go, that's it for today. So thank you very much, Phil.
You're welcome, Josh. Nice to see you again.
Yeah, nice to see you too.